Hi everybody, it's Chuck. I haven't done one of these vlogs in a while, so I'd figure I'd just touch base. Starting off with something I'm sure most of you have pretty much already figured out. There will be no Salty Santa video this year. No, I wasn't going for some, he was passed out this long since Christmas joke or whatever. Uh, just to give you all a idea of what's been going on, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed changes in the reviews where they were different locations for a while, different positions and things of that nature. Not to go into too many details because a lot of it is private. I had to have what I would consider major work done on my house over the summer. And unfortunately, maybe some of you can relate to this. You start a project, you think it's going to be this long and this much work, but once you get into it, you kind of realize it's more involved than you thought, and that's basically what happened. The project was supposed to be done well before the end of the summer, so we could have a return to normalcy, and unfortunately, it didn't. Things came up, what have you, and the reality is where we are now, we have not been able to settle back after the work was done. Things are still disheveled, put away. And because of that, what I wanted to do for the Salty Santa video, figures weren't available to me and stuff like that. Because you know how I do it. It's like usually I tend to focus on a line instead of like an individual figure sometimes. Like Masterpiece Soundwave was, a special case. Um, but, I didn't have them available. In case you were wondering, number one this year would have been the G.I. Joe 50th anniversary. I like the fact that we finally got a cartoon accurate gung ho, a gung ho that didn't have slit elbows or that was functional and something of stature with good articulation. Um, just when I think they couldn't make a better Firefly, they did in that 3 pack, and it was just an incredible figure. And it really was nothing. And what the best part was, there really wasn't anything new to it. It's just they took some parts they had and put them together in a certain way with the right selection of accessories. The other reason why is I was going to put Combiner Wars at number two. It wasn't going to be number one because, frankly, that line got really repaint heavy real quick. Now, I don't have a problem with repaints. The theory behind repaints is, to sell to parents that's like, well, little Jimmy liked this figure once already in this way. We know he won't break it. We'll buy the same one again in a different color as a different character. But the problem is with that, after Wave 2, you basically had all the molds that they were going to use for the line. You go to Defensor. Yes, there was a heavy retool with First Aid, but Streetwise was basically, a Stunticon mold with a new head and some extraneous parts. Blades was Alpha Bravo with a new head, which, you know, and then Rook was a new figure, which was great. But then, you got into that Autobot wave with Optimus Prime, and it was like, you know, okay, Prowl. Hey, look, it's Prowl. We just got this with Streetwise, and and what was worse is, if they would have made sure the figures had tighter hips, like with that Streetwise dead end mold, I have yet to have a version of that mold, including I think including the Takara one, where their hips aren't completely loose. It can stand, but you pick it up. I do it now in my videos. The little wiggle, those hips swing back and forth. They can't bear a load, so when you try to use it as an arm, the arm gets very limp, very easy, and I hate to say, I don't want to say I'm bored with it because the individual robots were fine, but this was but the combination sequence, that Scramble City, maybe it's because I've been spoiled from Brave figures where they show you how 3 or 4 figures can combine in this unique way to create something new instead of central robot peg, peg, peg. you know and yeah, I mean, there's Devastator. Now, first of all, as you all know, I have the Japanese version, which frankly I think is the version we should have gotten in the United States at the $100 $120 price point, depending on where you got it from, because I mean, that's the mold. I mean, aesthetically speaking, some of the stuff that we got were improved the figure, but then again, on Bone Crusher, I had to already tighten the joint with a screw that was the elbow joint for Devastator because it was already slouched. Scavenger, I can't do that. So that elbow is loose and cannot hold up its gun. What's worse is, while I think it's great Takara gave us the armpit swivel on a ratchet for that outward joint, because you want to make Devastator fly like an eagle, they could have given us a ratchet joint going forward. And because they didn't, that's a loose joint because it's just a mushroom cap. And right now I'm looking at them. It's fine, but I remember before in certain poses, the arm was just drooping. And when you get to past $100, I mean, or up to $100 and up, it's kind of stuff like that I just shake my head at. And I don't want to seem like I'm complaining. Like I said, Devastator's a great figure. If you can afford the Japanese version, get the Japanese version. The if you're going to get the American version, um, look up the Japanese instructions, because there's a few bits like on Scrapper that they don't mention that I think are important. Other than that, I was going to throw in some Marvel Legends, the DC Multiverse, but that's basically on the back of the Deadpool figure, the 4-inch Deadpool figure. Deadpool. The Deathstroke figure, the 4-inch Deathstroke figure from the DC Multiverse line, which I think was probably the best 4-inch figure they've put out thus far and probably ever will. And a lot of that's just on the back of the accessories. I mean, it's kind of funny that I think about it, because every year I think about, well, what was on the list last year and what's fallen off, and I still think about Tenkai Knights and just how that line just fizzled out bad. But I mean, that's it. Now, you've also probably noticed that the reviews have been, you might have a little bit of a drought, and then you'll have a flood. And really, what's happening is, I've worked my way through my backlog of, I would have a couple videos just saved up for a rainy day. Um, and, so I don't have that. But the other thing is, too, because of the way my house is, the focus on recording has been strictly for the videos that are new, product that's new, that will get front paged right away. Because even though I have 1,800 subscribers, and I'm very appreciative of the 1,800 subscribers, only a couple hundred really watch my videos. And out of that, I would say maybe a dozen, baker's dozen, are regular viewers who I'm basically talking to right now. So I rely on getting views. I rely on getting my videos up on sites like Yojo, Cybertron.com, and T-Formers. Mostly Cybertron.com, since that's like the bigger site. And in a lot of cases, they will only put up and newsify videos of figures that are brand new that haven't been covered. unless there's some miraculous thing I discover that people have missed, like weapon storage or a correct transformation. Because of that, I have to jump on those new figures. They have to get done, and they get prioritized. Also, they tend to prefer having a complete wave in certain cases. For example, the one-step changers, hyper change figures, the Legion figures, which continue to be, that group, the simplified figures tend to be my most viewed videos. Um, they want them all together instead of just doing one-step changer at a time per video. They want the whole wave, which, because I usually get the wave at the same time. I don't like doing them like that, but you kind of have to. I mean, I kind of have to, because it's either that or they just hold the video off until all of them are done, and then what ends up happening is one video gets lost in the shuffle. It works out. I mean, if you really look back at the summer or fall more recently, the last wave of Legion figures, I wasn't able to get them all at the same time because they were coming out dribs and drabs. I was able to get Thunderhoof, then I got Drift, then I got, oh no, got Thunderhoof, then I got Clampdown, then I got Drift, and just recently I was able to find a Windblade. And that's the thing. I know you might have noticed the GI Joe video. I mentioned JoJo. You might have noticed the GI Joe videos have kind of slowed down. That's again part of having to focus on what can go up to certain websites and what gets views. I love GI Joe. I've always loved GI Joe. I'm not just a GI Joe guy like most GI Joe collectors are. I'm a toy collector. And the reality is the videos don't get views. Well, also right now there's really nothing new. The 50th anniversary line came and went, but they don't get views. Even going to the Joe sites, they only get front page on YoJo, which I am eternally grateful to those guys for. But Terradrome, His Tank, they don't front page reviews. Um, and it shows. Now, without going into the nuts and bolts, I mean, because I'm sure as you've heard from other reviewers, we're in a bit of a downturn. I think with the launch of YouTube Red, the increase of ad blockers, revenue is down a little. It also doesn't help that it's not a movie year, which really that's the only time I can say there's any real interest in Transformers and Transformer toys. Look at my videos. Out of all the videos I have, only two that have what I consider, except like a profitable view margin, were were from figures that were not featured on a web page during a movie year. And of those two, one is not a movie toy. Any movie toy, the simplified toys, they've made money, and I hate putting it down like that. But that's really what it comes down to a lot of times. It is a business for a lot of people, and we got to do it. I mean, to give you an idea, what a G.I. Joe 50th anniversary 2-pack costs at Toys R Us. Now, to give you a very simplified conversion, 1,000 views equal $1. So when a G.I. Joe 50th anniversary 2-pack video doesn't even break 1,000 views, I'm not making anything off of it. And out of all my GI Joe reviews, I'm fairly certain only two have broken 1,000 views, just barely. So I have to really rethink how I do GI Joe reviews. I think maybe it's an issue where the majority of Joe fans are conditioned to just wanting photographic reviews, which I don't do. Action figures should be seen in action. And maybe it's a time issue that I have to figure out a way to cover what I want in a video in a shorter frame of time. Um, but there's maybe some other things which I don't want to get into, but hopefully, I mean, Joe reviews will return, but it probably won't be until things are more settled here that I can, bring my house back to where I know it to be. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just wanted to give you guys an update of what's been going on. I do appreciate the support, even during this very odd time. Some of the videos have been well received. Leader Starscream got his 6,000 views, and then like Clampdown, I mentioned Clampdown, and then the Springload Quillfire one step video that's really taken off, and I do appreciate that because it does help. And yeah, into the future, this is February 4th. You should be seeing another long time coming episode of Masterpiece Theater. It's a newer masterpiece. I don't, go in order. It's, what I have, what I feel inspired to make a video about, since those, I tend to put a little extra razzle-matazz on them just to make them nice, but I hope the Christmas was good for you. Happy New Year's, everybody. And yeah, that's really just about it. Hopefully, the next time I do one of these, it'll be warmer weather, and I'll have some better news for you. So, this is your old pal Chuck. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again real soon.